ZZ109FM Talk Radio. This is Elsie Jenkins. Lord have mercy. Mm, mm, mm. United States has hit the beehive. Lord have mercy. I'm telling you now. You need some knowledge. On Iran. And that's what we're going to talk about. Might be boring for some people, so just change the channel, because if you don't want to know about the beehive, then continue moving on. But this is important information that you at least need to have a ground on, so we'll know what's possible in the future. One thing I'm not going to be is a dummy. I'm not going to be blind. I'm not going to be blind to the facts. It's important to understand these facts, because our livelihood is embedded in knowledge. We don't know what's going on. We take things for granted. We can end up casualties of war. All right, it's just me in the studio. Everybody's running around getting supplies. But you know what? I didn't eat up all my supplies. I've got extra supplies stashed away. I don't squander my supplies like some people. All right, so we're going to get into this. Okay, you have a conflict with somebody. Iran's been going back and forth with the U.S. for years. Many years. But there's some things we got to understand about Iran. So we're going to go over this piece by piece. It's not a whole lot, but still it's important to understand what's going on. Now I'm going to tell you right now, with the knowledge I have in front of me, I wouldn't have played with this beehive. I would have gathered all of my resources I needed, every last resource I needed, to make sure that when I went in here to address the beehive, I didn't just address it. I went in, I got my hands dirty. I got my hands on the beehive. I secured it. I got the beehive and I discarded it. Cleaned up all of the residual. And now when you go back and look, you can't tell a beehive was there. That's exactly how you have to handle it. Exactly. You don't leave bees around. You don't leave the hive intact. Because the bees can always come back and get you. They can reproduce. They can rebuild their hive. They can come back and get you. And enough bees sting you, you'll be a statistic on the planet. It's that simple. Now see, people that own businesses, that understand the steps from A to Z to accomplish stuff, they make a lot of money because people are happy with their service and ask them to come back. It's important to know the steps involved to be successful. So I look at the current situation right now and I see you hit all these different areas. but the beehive is still intact. It's important to understand this information I'm about to tell you so you'll understand why this beehive that's still intact is so dangerous. So dangerous. All right. So Israel and Iran are going back and forth, and here the United States comes in and assists. And you know good and well they did more than assist. But doesn't matter. Their fingerprint is on the recent response. So, um, are they crippled? Is that the end of Iran? No, it's not. It's not the end. And let's go into the specifics that help us understand what is going on. When I did my research, I took a look and see who are the allies of Iran, because that's important to understand. So, around that surrounding area, surrounding Israel, are all these different allies of, of Iran. You got Lebanon, Yemen, Gaza, and let me give you their specific names. You've heard these before: Hezbollah, Hamas, the Palestinian, Iraqi. So these names sound familiar. Yes, allies of Iran. And listen to these next three: Syria, Russia, and China. Allies. They're not American allies. Iran's allies. It's very important. And I'll explain its importance in a second. Now, Iran's got oil. They're not number one when it comes to production, but they produce enough oil to be dangerous. And with that being said, this oil can gain them a couple of things: military support through their allies. And this is a different world we're living in right now. You've got your direct methods of getting people, but you also have your indirect methods. And Iran is an indirect method kind of country. They're not going to stop. They're going to continue to try to get back at you once you got at them. And this oil that they have gets them military support, partnerships with their allies like Russia and China. A lot of U.S. targets outside the United States are on high alert because those targets have no other kind of protection in the foreign parts of the planet that they're located. So all of your resorts, places you like to travel because you got a lot of money, where Americans go. All of your locations on the planet where you buy property and you have a quiet home where there's no problems. Doesn't matter where you are on the planet. You could be in Central America, Europe. You can be in Africa. Doesn't matter. They're all targets right now. And even though it's quiet right now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be quiet next week, next month, next year. Because Iran is the kind of country that would branch out to their allies to hit the U.S. indirectly. So we've got to be very careful right now on the decisions we make when we talk about going places, even in America and out of this country. And remember, Iran's not our only threat. We've got Mexico. We've got people that's been deported from who knows what country. Venezuela's not too happy. Enemy after enemy after enemy. So we've got to be very careful right now, very careful as to how we tread on this planet as an American. That word American draws attention. So we put some pressure on Iran, but Iran is not down. We should have hit Iran like never before. We should have paralyzed them. And to be honest with you, Iran should have been wiped off of the map. The beehive is gone. And all of Iran's allies in the area would have got a message. Yeah, Russia, China, but the allies in the area, Lebanon, all those little guys would have got a message when Iran is no longer in existence. Now, who's going to come save Iran once it's no longer in existence? It's a good question. Good question. But even after Iran, and when I say Iran, I'm saying you hit them physically. You know, we got generals assassinated on this first attempt, but you got to go and get the rest of them. Until all you have left is a population of people that needs assistance in developing a government. So we talked about the oil that they have. Iran is number 5 out of all of these large countries: U.S., Saudi Arabia, Russia, Canada, Iran. That's important. That's important because you don't see China there. China could use some oil. So they're not going to get it from the U.S. They may get it from Russia. They may get it from Saudi Arabia. They may get it from Canada. And Iran is right there for them to get their oil. That's who they're going to get it from. And look at this. Iran exports 1.3 to 1.5 million barrels a day, and they mostly go to China. Now, something happens to that oil right there, China's going to be a little upset. If the U.S. would have went in and took over 100%, China would have been pissed. Because I'm pretty sure Trump would have said, ain't no more oil to China. What would have China done about it? What would China have done about it if Trump would have went in and just took over Iran like he should have done? Go in there and get the beehive. Don't play with the beehive. You're leaving bees loose to rebuild the hive and repopulate. They populate quickly. They multiply quickly. And then come back and sting the hell out of all of us. States most likely to assist Iran. We said China. China needs that oil. Russia. Syria. Qatar. See, these are players in this chess game we're playing here. You've got to know this, and you can't count Iran out as long as they're in existence. And those local forces, Hezbollah, the Iraqi, and the Hamas. Internal assistance and helpers to indirectly hit the United States. These people are helping because they don't like the United States. They align with Iran's ideology. They depend on Iran's money, weapons. And Iran's like a big brother to all these little countries. An uncle. They rely on Iran. Once Iran is hit, all these little entities start shaking in anger. How can we help you? Calls are coming in. People are rushing in. How can we help you? See, Iran's still in existence, so Iran's shaking off the initial attack, and then they start getting their thoughts back. Are we afraid of Trump? We've never been afraid of a U.S. president before. But this U.S. president went in and put in some serious work in a few hours to let them know we're not playing. And doesn't sound like he's not afraid to respond again in 24 hours if he needs to. So Iran's either going to take this seriously for the first time, or they're going to do like they always do. They're going to kind of rebound and find them some targets and slowly get their gold medals. You know how the Olympics is. U.S. gets their medals pretty quickly. But there's some countries out there that they get the medals. It just takes them a while to get them. They don't have as many key players in the big events like the U.S., but they still get their medals. They still can kind of stay close to the medal race. You got to look at Iran like that. Iran's got a lot of partners out here, indirect partners that can do some dirty work for them if needed. So that's why we had this show today to kind of give you an idea about Iran's connection to Russia and China, Iraq, Hezbollah, Hamas. Some of these names uh, have a lot of people that are willing to strap bombs on their body and walk into a Starbucks at any second. No thought process in committing suicide by bomb. So you gotta send a bigger message than hitting 5 or 6 targets and then stepping back and going, what you gonna do about it? Iran doesn't go down so easily. Now, with that being said, you as an American, what are you going to do? Don't sit back and watch the fight. You need to be preparing yourself and your family with a backup plan. I seen someone yesterday in a pickup truck with a Generac generator. Sounds like he knows exactly what he needs to be doing, which is preparing in case one of these electric grid targets get attacked. We need electricity. We rely on electricity. And our electric system is not the best in the world. It's mediocre by far. But you that have been out there and seen these storms that have came through this last year and a half to 2025 and 2026, you've seen how the power just goes down because of a snowstorm or hurricane. You see exactly how vulnerable you are without any power. If this power grid goes down for days and weeks, how are you going to survive? Do you have the resources to survive? I think bartering is going to probably be important to barter. I went to the flea market and looked around at the flea market, and a lot of these people at the flea market have a lot of things that they could bring out to the flea market, and you could trade them or give them money for some of the things they have. I seen they had food, supplies, batteries, flashlights. Remember, things are going to still continue to turn if there's no electricity. So your flea markets are one of your best options. People have these goods currently in their possession. I've seen a table with hundreds of supplies, from foods to snacks to drinks, batteries, flashlights, gadgets that run off electricity, radios. They have all kinds of stuff there. So do be familiar with the flea markets in your area. Know where a flea market is. Because you don't need electricity to run a flea market in the daytime. Those people come out, they put their stuff on the table, and you go by and you take a look at what you want, and you fill your bag up. Now, I can't imagine that if things go down, that those prices I saw, which were pretty cheap, would go up. But nonetheless, you have access to these things without having to have a cash register, a store with lighting. You don't need any stores or lighting or electricity at the flea markets. You drive there, you get out, you go to the tables, you find your supplies, and you get back in your car and head back home or head back to your next destination. Find a flea market, know where the flea markets are, because those people that barter and trade are going to be there with those supplies to make money. Water, plenty of water. You've got to stock up on water. Bottles of water, regardless of what they say about the plastic, that they last. I've had bottles of water that sat in a area for years and found them by accident. The water was still in the bottles. Who knows what condition the water is in since it's been in a plastic bottle, but I'd rather have that water than to have no water or to be trying to purify water from a lake. So, bottles of water, get them and put them up. Just put them up. Because when water is scarce, this planet is going to get rough. Food is scarce, you can imagine. People are not going to be pleasant with each other. Look at them at the stores when a hurricane's coming and then they're tearing up the stores and pushing people and taking stuff. You think they're going to be calm when there's a true shortage? No, I don't think so. I think anxiety and worry is going to fuel anger, and people will start fighting each other for these supplies. So be smart now. Whatever amount of money you have, you put that those supplies aside for you and your family and secure them. Don't just leave them in the open for people to see, because even your own family members see you got water. You can't trust them. You cannot trust them. And that's family. Make sure it's secure and no one can see your supplies when they come into your home. They can't just see you got 20 cases of water over there. People get desperate. And when people get desperate, doesn't matter if you're friend, family, doesn't matter. They're trying to survive just like you're trying to survive. ZZ109FM, this is Elsie Jenkins. Haven't kept up much with the current events after the attacks, but I'll tell you now, Iran's not going to stay quiet for long. They're not going to stay quiet. And remember, indirect is just as dangerous as a direct attack. So when you're out and about, you got to be looking over your shoulder. Make sure you determine if the people around you are okay, or if there's some people around you that are suspect. You need to make sure you clear and move yourself from their energy and take care of your family. All right, have a blessed rest of your 2026 and be safe because 2026 started off with a roar. And here we are in the first of, of March with Iran up in flames. And I'm pretty sure they're not happy. And their allies aren't happy. And the beehive still looks intact from where I'm sitting. So now the bees are a little upset. Let's hope that somebody smarter than we are and takes care of those bees before they build their hive back up and repopulate and decide to pay us a visit. ZZ109FM, this Elsie Jenkins. Take care.